we will start with the topic that I brought to you guys. Is it confirmed now that a 9-game conference schedule is coming to the SEC? So a little backstory. Yesterday, Vanderbilt canceled a home and home with Colorado State for the 2026-2027 season. That is now the 4th SEC team to cancel non-conference games to get them down to 3. There is only 3 schools that still have a 4th game for the year 2026. That is Florida, Mississippi State, and Missouri. 3 teams have canceled non-conference games since the spring meetings. So, want to hear your thoughts on this. And Daniel, I'll start with you. Is a 9-game conference schedule coming, starting the way it looks in the year 2026?
I believe it is. I think that when it was proposed, was it last year? It was proposed, and almost everyone but Alabama and Nick Saban was on board at the coaches meetings with the 9-game schedule, along with the, I believe it was the 3-6-6 scheduling or the 1-8-8. With having either one rival or 3 teams that would play all each other, and then 6 rotating, kind of like how we see in the ACC. Definitely is interesting that we've seen lots of cancellations. I'm not sure if Florida's going to get a cancellation. They're probably, if that is happening, looking to reschedule. Currently, just from the Florida perspective, we've got a trip to NC State. We host Cal. And of course, we have our Florida State along with Campbell's coming. So I don't see us playing a 12-game Power 5, all SEC and ACC teams. Yeah, Cal Golden Bears being ACC still freaks me out a little bit. Yeah. But with that said, I'm sure the teams like Florida we've not seen canceled that 4th game are probably in a spot where they have a contract and are just looking for a better year to play their games rather than cancel something that'd be great for the fans like an NC State or a Cal or whatever any other school has coming.
Yeah, and the 3 schools that have not canceled yet, they're the ones that are still the most against it right now. Vanderbilt was one of those until the cancellation as of yesterday. So, Landon, same question to you. Is a 9-game conference schedule coming?
Yeah, I think it's at this point it's inevitable. I'm glad Daniel brought up the point that Alabama and specifically Nick Saban seem to be, kind of speaking against it. It just seems as if that this is the direction that it is going in. And honestly, if you look back at kind of the trail of everything, what does it come down to? Cash. The amount of money that the revenue for so many, from the TV networks to the local economy, whenever an SEC school is coming into town. Versus some random non-conference is certainly a difference. But ultimately, the people who win outside of the folks who get more money in their pocket are the fans. Think about, week 10 and week 11 when things are really coming down to the wire and you're talking a lot about, your team or the big teams. There's not much worse than getting up on a Saturday and looking at the slate of games going, man, like it's my team versus, mashed potato Tech or some random team you never heard of before. Oh man, but Tennessee's playing tonight in the prime time. Who do they have? Oh, it's Ball State or whoever the case may be. So the ultimate thing is it does seem like this is where it's going. And if I'm a fan, this is another part of great news because we get more great games.
Yeah, absolutely. And Daniel brought up the if you go to a 9-game, it's going to be that 3-6-6 model versus a 1-8-8 model. Personally, I would absolutely love that 3-6-6 model because there is so many, I guess you would say, secondary rivalries that you want to preserve because, Florida, Georgia would probably be the one rivalry game that would stay in the SEC. I would also like to see Florida keep that LSU rivalry. All right, Mississippi State, it would be Ole Miss, Mississippi State, without a doubt. That's the rivalry that would stay there. I would like to see Mississippi State keep one of their rivals, and I'm sorry, Landon, for not knowing one of those other teams that y'all would consider a rival. But for Tennessee, I would really love it
Kentucky.
for Tennessee because Well, yeah, I would love to see Tennessee, Kentucky keep playing, but the one rivalry in that 1-8-8 model that Tennessee would keep would be Vanderbilt. And, I want to see Tennessee keep Kentucky. I want to see Tennessee keep Alabama. You also want to keep the Auburn Georgias, stuff like that. So that's why I am for a 9-game conference slate, because you get to keep some more of those secondary rivalries. And
quick question, Michael.
Okay.
When you think about the different methods, I know you mentioned, I think there's three to four teams ish that are opposing at the moment. Do you know how that works? Like, do they have to reach 12 out of 16 teams? Do they have to reach what's the point of no return where they go, okay, we have enough votes, this is now happening?
Okay, that I'm not certain about, but I'm pretty sure that is majority rules. So if we got 16 head coaches, athletic directors, whatever. I think it would have to be a 10 to 6 vote or a 9 to 7 vote, something like that. And I do know that there's still schools out there, Tennessee being one of them, that have not leaned one way or the other since the spring meetings. They don't have a matchup on the books for 2026, but they have not leaned one direction or the other. So there's still some that are kind of on the fence. There's some that are for one, and there's some that are for the other. I find it really interesting that since the spring meetings, all of this has come about.
Yeah. But with SEC Media Days coming up, I believe it's next week.
Yeah.
Which you want to talk about a great week. You have college football 25. Good luck with guess when that releases next week. But you have that dropping, and then you have SEC Media Days. What a better gift for SEC football fans. And I imagine that's why you catching on to things like teams dropping that fourth non-conference game. I think it's for some big announcement coming up next week. So I could see us next week be sitting here talking about, all right, it's been announced, and here's maybe that 3-6-6 type model. Tennessee's gonna keep Florida and Alabama, and then Kentucky or Vandy, while Florida will probably keep Georgia, and then Tennessee, since I've already mentioned them, and then throw in
LSU.
Yeah.
And because of how it's being discussed already in the media circles, I would imagine, as you mentioned, SEC Media Days, the commissioner will be asked about it next week. Somebody somewhere will push on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are now going to be joined by Caleb from the Hogs on the Hill podcast. He's been recording another episode tonight, and glad that he is able to join. So, Caleb, appreciate you coming in. We have been discussing a little bit about a 9-game conference schedule possibly being confirmed. What are your thoughts on a 9-game conference schedule coming to the SEC?
I really could see that being a possibility. I was talking about it on another show about, it seems like that's the way we could be headed with how the playoffs are expanding, and they're talking about potentially expanding to 16 teams. You're looking at a lot of playoff games that you're going to have to play, and what comes along with it, I think, would have to be a shortened conference game schedule.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with you there. But just a little backstory for you. I'll kind of keep it brief. So, the Vandy canceled a home and home for 2026, 2027 with Colorado State. They're the fourth one to cancel since the spring meetings. Or sorry, the third one to cancel since spring meetings. Fourth to cancel to go down to 3. And there's only 3 teams right now that still have 4 non-conference games for the 2026 season. So it's kind of looking like 2026 might be that time. Nothing confirmed, but how do you feel about 9 games conference schedule? Would you prefer it to stay at 8, or would you like it to go to 9?
I think that's an interesting thing, and I think when you look at it, and if you look at it for a team, with conference-wise, thinking about the SEC and looking at just where we're at right now in Arkansas, that it might make our season, our schedule tougher, just because you're not going to have one of those quote unquote easier games that would be a win on that schedule compared to the gauntlet that you're going to have that's the SEC.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely right there. So anybody else have any thoughts on this 9-game schedule before we move ahead?
I'll just throw in there again. I'm interested to see if it happens, which I believe it is, but also how they deal with that schedule and how they're going to format it. Whether it is 1/8, which has been thrown out there, 3/6, or even another weird thing that was thrown out was the pods, where you essentially have many divisions and then 6 random games. So we'll see. I'm excited to see what happens over the next few years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I have heard and seen a lot of the coaches don't like the pods. I think that one's kind of been thrown out, but it's between that 1/8 and that 3/6 model right now.